Hi everybody, welcome to Dandelion Cottage and Paper Crafting Saturday. I'm Leslie Watkins. So how is everybody today? We've got snow, big snowstorms and ice storms rolling across the country here. So I hope that you're all happy in your studio, nice and cozy, staying warm and dry, and you're ready for a long paper crafting session. Today will be a little bit longer than usual. I don't know exactly how long because I'm going to be winging it with you as we go along. But the inspiration for today's class or video is going to be the Queen Bee stamp set, which looks like this. And with it, you can get some beautiful dies. And for my birthday, I received this gorgeous card from Julia, and she really went above and beyond and outdid herself. So I just want to thank you again, Julia, for this stunning card. It's absolutely beautiful. And there were so many comments on it, and let me give you a close-up. There we go. There were so many comments of people wanting to know how to make this card. I decided that what I would do is I would make a variation on it. So I'm not going to be copying Julia's design, but I am going to show you how to use some of the elements that she used in this beautiful card. Now her card measures 5.5, and then it's a little bit longer this way, by 5 3/4 because of the tab here. And then of course you have this extra little pull on the end. So this card will not fit into a standard size envelope, particularly since it's so chunky. Alright, so you would have to make a special presentation box or make your own envelope to be able to present that to someone in that way. We're not going to be making a card today. I'm going to show you how to make a honey or a queen bee portfolio using these ideas that you can use to tuck things inside of, and it's going to be bigger. But before we get into that, let me just show you this card again. So on the front of the card, she's got this fancy fold panel that features the Hive embossing folder, these beautiful die cuts, some really sparkly, nice embellishments, and of course the main actor, this beautiful queen bee. And then she's got some other embellishments here, and she's got it tied shut with this ribbon. And then this opens up like so. And then on the inside, she's got all of these other decorations. So she's got a little flip here that holds a calendar, and inside here we've got all of 2023. She's starting with February 11th, which is my birthday. And then she's got that decorated with all kinds of die cuts and more embellishments, and this really nice designer series paper in the background that she's also stamped. And on the right side, you pull these little strings and you get these beautiful labels, and the labels read Happy Birthday Queen. Okay, and these are made from the Tailored Labels dies, which is a fantastic set of dies, and we may or may not use that today, I'm not sure, but even if I don't use it today, that is a die set that you should have in your toolbox. It's called the Tailored Labels dies. And by the way, all of the materials that I'll be using today I will list below, and you'll be able to click on a supply list, but more about that later. And then finally in the back here, she's got another pocket. Okay, and in this pocket she's got this beautiful tuck that says Friends Forever, and she's got it stamped with that beautiful queen bee. She's sponged it, and she's added some pretty little flowers in the background, and then she's attached this natural finish ribbon tab using a brad. So I think you can see that, and that just forms the center of the flower. So that's my inspiration, and who would not be inspired by such a beautiful thing? Now, I'm going to use product today that that some is retired. So I'm going to be using some stuff from the new mini catalog, the annual catalog, and also I'm going to be using some things from my stash. So this is going to be a really awesome scrap busting project for those of you who have all sorts of goodies stored away that you've been saving for a special project. So maybe this one will give you some ideas, and if it does, I'd like to see what you do. So we have a special group here called Something Old, Something New, which features projects that use both old and retired products. And if you'd like to have a place that you can share those ideas with others and see how other people are getting into their stashes and using up their supplies, please make a comment below. Let me know who you are. Say hi, and then find Something Old, Something New, and ask to be invited in, and I will let you in, and you can be part of the group. And we also have some swaps there, and some creative challenges, and a lot of other things going on. So it's a really fun group, and it's open to everybody. All right, so I'm going to just put this aside for the moment, and I'm going to show you some of the supplies that I have taken out. And I don't know that I'm going to be using all of these things, but I wanted to have them handy. So I've got some 12 by 12 pieces of crumb cake. And if you have the basic black 12 by 12, that might be a nice alternate. So I did actually pull out my 12 by 12 basic black, and this, oh, you know what, I'm sorry, let me turn that fan off because that's annoying. Hang on just a second. The black 12 by 12 made a brief appearance in the last mini catalog, and then it disappeared again. So if you were one of the people who snagged a package of that, that would work really nicely with this project. I decided that I wanted to use a little more neutral kind of colors, but I have the black out just in case I need some. I also have, this is the shimmery gold vellum paper, and this is a retired product, and I'm pretty sure it was called the shimmery gold vellum, and I love this stuff. I think you can see the sheen that it has on it. I've got my fingers crossed that Stampin' Up! Will bring this back in the next catalog. I hope. It is translucent, it has gold color and gold shimmer, and it's absolutely perfect for making honeycomb or hive for the card. I've also got some of the distressed gold paper. You probably are aware that this stuff has been going in and out of inventory like mad because it's so wildly popular, and rightfully so. It's absolutely stunning. So I've got some of that to use just in case. I also have some So Saffron cardstock. This is going to be my yellow. I like the softer yellow. I love Daffodil Delight you know, and it certainly has its place. But I wanted this to be a little softer, a little more elegant. So I chose the So Saffron. And then I've also got some vellum. And this is just plain standard vellum, and you can see it has this wonderful translucent quality, but it's still super strong. And so this makes for wonderful layers and die cuts and embossing. Whatever you want to do, you can do that with this vellum. So I'm just going to grab a piece of that. I'm not sure how much I'm going to need. Oops, too much. So let me just grab some pieces and we will continue. This I think I have opened already. Maybe not. There's what that looks like. All right, now I just want to check my settings, make sure that I am broadcasting. And I am. Okay, hey, and hi, Carol, good morning. Kelly, Jan is here, and Beverly. Well, thank you all for joining me. This is going to be a little bit longer, so you may want to grab yourself a cup of coffee. When you see me post the announcement, I don't always have time to post the announcement, but I try to. And it says bring coffee. That's your cue for it may be a little bit longer than usual. So look at all these beautiful papers. Aren't they stunning? All right, I'm just going to grab one more of these just in case so I have it handy. So that's the color palette. For the ribbon, I'm using a retired ribbon. This is called the Fine Art ribbon, and next to the various crumb cake and neutral ribbons, this has to be my all-time favorite. And I love it because it is crumb cake or a natural kind of a linen color, but then it has, let me see if I can show you this. It has these beautiful, very, very discreet, very kind of subtle gold flecks in it. So it can go from a very neutral, very rustic kind of a project to something with a little bit extra something in it. And that's going to go perfectly with this today. I already showed you the Queen Bee stamp set. I also have out the Hive 3D embossing folder, so we're going to be doing some embossing with the paper and the cut and emboss machine. I also went back and I pulled out the Honeybee Home stamp set, and this was a bundle that came with these dies. Okay, so there's some framelits that will cut out the stamp shape, as well as a couple of additional standalone dies, which I may or may not use, I'm not sure. It also features these really sweet, I know it's called Honeybee, they really look like bumblebees, but we'll call them Honeybee for the moment. And then I have the Petal Park stamp set, which comes in a bundle. This is something from the new mini, and you can get that with the punch. And this punch is called, let me get the name of it. This is, oh, it's called the Petal Park Builder Punch. So there you go. And this one features 3 different flower shapes and sizes with a leaf that corresponds with the configuration of the stamp, so that you can punch them all out at once. And you can go back and see my previous video on making vellum flowers that I made using this. And the last thing that I have to show you today is this punch This is the Essential Tag Punch, and I'm really excited to be using both the Essential Tag Punch and the Hive embossing folder, because both of these things are available for free right now, which is fantastic because I consider these staples for your toolbox. These are awesome. So the way you can get these for free is by placing an order of $50 or $100 during SALE-a-bration, and for every $50 or $100 that you spend, you can select a free product from a long list of items. And these two things are featured in the newly added sort of second rollout of products that you can get during SALE-a-bration. I'm going to pause here for just a minute to just explain briefly about SALE-a-bration, because not everybody knows. I know a lot of you do, but not everybody knows. So SALE-a-bration is an event that happens only once a year, and during the year, Stampin' Up! Has an annual catalog, and this is the great big catalog. It's massive. It's got everything. So in the front of the catalog are all of your stamp sets and dies shown in being used in different ways. So this is also a great idea book. So if you're just looking for something to do with your stamps and supplies, just page through the catalog. And then at the end of the catalog, we have tools and supplies. And so you can see these are the color palettes. So there's an extremely broad range of colors, and they're broken up into areas like neutrals, regals, subtles, and brights. And then if you continue flipping through, you can find all of these different tools, adhesives, designer series papers. So these are beautifully printed papers with designs on two different sides. Typically they are 12 by 12. You have scrapbooking supplies, all kinds of different envelopes, and so on and so forth. Here's some of the specialty papers that you just heard me describe. And then embellishments, ribbons, bundles. Here are some of the punches that you can get. There's the Essential Tag Punch. You can see it's a $19 product. Okay, $19, which is something that you can get for free, which is that's a 40% discount. And tools. So here are some essential tools. So you've got your trimmer, your scoreboard, your snips, your bone folder things. So these are things that everybody needs, and the reason why I like Stampin' Up! So much is the quality. Okay, so the quality of both the tools and the supplies is the best, and that's why I've selected Stampin' Up! To be the go-to place for my students and for people who follow along with my workshops and my classes, so that you can get the same results as I do. So I diverge. So anyway, that's the annual catalog. And then twice a year, they also come out with what's called the mini catalog. And this is the January through April catalog. And this is the one where you will find the Queen Bee set. Let's see if I can just quickly put my finger on it. You've been seeing me use a bunch of these things in the recent videos. So here you go. Here is the Petal Park bundle. We're going to be using that stamp set and that punch today. And is that it? No. Here she is. Okay, so here is the Queen Bee bundle, and this may be temporarily back ordered. I think it was so popular that they may have bumped it up, but it's going to be available again in another week or two, so no worries. And you can see some examples here of how that's used in various projects. So why am I showing you all this? Because if you see anything in these catalogs, whether it's a stamp set, a bundle with dies, punches, fancy papers like some of the papers I showed you earlier, tools. If you want to get started stamping and you want to get a cut and emboss machine, you can get a cut and emboss machine with free shipping during celebration when you get a starter kit. So there's sort of two different things going on. If you just want to get a couple of supplies and spend $50 or $100, then you can absolutely pick items from the celebration brochure that you see here. And there's some good ones. And if you look back at my previous videos on my YouTube channel at Dandelion Cottage Design, you will see me using a lot of these products in the current videos. The other part of celebration that I really want you to know about is that if you decide, hey, I love all this stuff that you've been making and you'd like to make some along with me, you can join Stampin' Up! And my team and get a starter kit. A starter kit, I'm gonna have to, all right, I told you to bring coffee. Time for a little coffee break. I'm trying to talk fast, but I'm also really excited about this offer, because if you decide to get the starter kit and join Stampin' Up! And the Dandelion Cottage Design team, there is a deal going on right now like none other. So typically throughout the year, the starter kit is select $125 worth of product and pay only $99 and get free shipping and have all those wonderful products to do whatever you want with forever and ever. Right now, during celebration, and this only goes 3 more days, okay, so that's 3 more days, February 28th, you can select $175 worth of stuff and pay only $99 and get free shipping. And what that means is, so if you're somebody that's just starting out, like, so for instance, today I'm going to be using the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And that's a kind of an expensive item, and it's heavy. And so typically the price for that is $125. So if you were to pick the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine and maybe get a paper trimmer, for instance. So here's the paper trimmer, which is an absolutely essential tool. Get some snips and your bone folder, maybe get some adhesive, maybe a stamp set. You could select $175 that will help you get started and pay only $99. So this is a once a year, if that, special opportunity, and I urge you to really consider it, because it just doesn't get any better than that. If you want to learn more, go to dandelioncottagedesign.com and go to the page there that says join, because there are so many other additional benefits and goodies that I can't even mention them here because it would just take too long. But just as an example, for instance, when you join the Dandelion Cottage Design team, there are a whole bunch of additional benefits that are available to you. So 3 more days. If you have any questions at all, please contact me. You can message me, email me, call me, whatever you like, and I will walk you through the process, and I'll answer any questions that you may have. But just know that this is as good as it gets, and you shouldn't miss it. Also, when you join, when you get the starter kit, you are then eligible to a 20% discount on future purchases in both and all these catalogs. So it just keeps getting better and better. But I'm gonna stop with that right now. I'm gonna get back to our project to hand. I'm going to clear the work surface here. I'm going to take a quick look at the comments, see if anybody does have any questions so far. I don't see any. Sandra says, I select Stampin' Up! Too for the quality. Well, exactly. I mean, that was how I found Stampin' Up! I was searching, trying all sorts of junky papers and things that were not giving me the results that I wanted. And as kind of a last-ditch effort, I decided, okay, let me try this Stampin' Up! Stuff, and it was perfect. And, you know, I want my students to have good results, so it's important to me to have good tools and good quality products. Okay, so we're going to start with the base. And as I mentioned, this is going to be a kind of a portfolio, a little portfolio. And I'm going to use my trimmer for this. I consider the trimmer my most essential tool. Well, these three. These three are my most essential tools. So the bone folder, my snips, and the paper trimmer. These are the things that I use just about every time I sit down to make something. I want the portfolio to be, let me get a scrap of paper. Do I have a scrap of paper here? I have all kinds of paper here, but it's too good to write on. Here's a tiny scrap of paper. So I want the portfolio to measure roughly 6 by 8, but I have to add in a little bit of a spine, okay? And I want the spine to measure about 1/8 of an inch. So normally, what we would do if we were just to make a 6-inch score, we just pop this into the trimmer like so. But because I want that little bit of a spine, I'm going to pull it back just a 1/16 of an inch and then score. I'm going to flip it around, pull it back a 1/16 of an inch, give that a score, and that's going to give me a little, you'll be able to see this better when I fold it, but maybe you can start to see that little kind of a 1/8 inch area that's going to become the spine. Then I want to have some pockets in here, so I'm going to score this at the 4-inch mark. I'm just going to fold on these scores that I made so that you can see better. Okay, so I've got this that little skinny spine there. These are going to flip up like so, and that's going to be the basis of my portfolio. But what I want to do is I want to remove this extra bulk in here. So I'm just going to cut outside of the score line because I'm removing the score line as well. Bring that right up to there. And then I'm going to do exactly the same thing on this other side. So I'm outside of the score line, removing that. And then I'm just going to snip that away. can neaten that up a little bit. Let's just get that edge off of there. There we go. All right, so that's what this looks like now. Okay, I think you can see that. Oh, I've got another punch I want to mention, and that's this punch. So this is a tri-punch. It's got 3 different sections in it. One of them is a corner rounder. And I'm going to use that corner rounder on these inside corners. I keep this punch just right next to me on my desktop because I use it so frequently. Okay, so there we go. Very simple folder. Looks like this. And I think what I want to do, since I have this punch handy, actually no, I'm going to hold off on that because there may be some additional layers, so it might be a little too soon to use that. But now what I want to do is I want to create some additional interest on here. So if you hear Houdini in the background, he's complaining because he hasn't been out for a while. It's been so icy and snowy here. It's snowing right now, and it's this very pretty, soft, fluffy snow. But what it's doing is it's covering up the ice underneath. So it's it looks pretty, but it's kind of treacherous. So we have to be very careful when we go outside. What I want to do next is I want to add a little pocket. I want to keep the back plain. I want to keep these 2 little pockets here open for oversized things. And then I want to add a little additional pocket, so maybe over on this side. These areas measure 4 by 6. So I'm gonna measure 4 by 6, but then I'm going to fold it in a little bit. So I'm going to begin with the overall. So there's 4 by 6, but now what I want to do is I want to score that at 1/2 inch on 3 sides. So that looks like this. What I can do here is I can just find the center, make a little mark at 3, and I can grab my 1-inch circle punch and I can just put a little notch like so. And then I'm going to cut away the corners at a little bit of an angle. So I end up with a piece like this. And that's going to give me a pocket that has a little kind of a semi-gusset. It's not a true gusset, but it acts as a little bit of a gusset so that I can stick some additional items in there. And I'm going to be able to add that to the inside of my flap like so. All right, so I think what I want to do now, before I glue any of these things down, is to decorate them a little bit. And this is going to be a longer video today, so if you have to come and go, I understand. Okay, so I'm going to use my beautiful So Saffron as a layering mat on here. And so that would be about 4 3/4 by 3 1/4. That's going to look like that. And then for the covers, with the spine, removed, the covers measure 8 by 5 7/8. So I'm just going to call this 5 1/2 by, let's see what 5 1/2 by 7 3/4 looks like. Give it a try. Oh, perfect. Okay. That was lucky. Okay, that looks good. That looks good to me. So I've got one for the front, one for the back, and then I've got this one for in here. And I'm going to save this side because I'm not sure how I want to do this just yet. So I'm just going to hold off on that until, you know, sometimes when you're designing a project, you can't know everything that's coming in the future until you do the things ahead of time. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm going to put this aside and use these things to decorate. So the first thing I want to do is I want to get some of this magnificent honeycomb embossing. And if I get out my Hive folder, I want to check the size on this because this is one of the smaller folders. So I want to make sure that I have the right size paper. And 4 1/2 by 6. And I know I'm going to want a couple of different pieces of this. So I'm going to cut a couple of extras. I'm going to begin by cutting it in half to get that 6-inch mark. And then I forgot what I said already. Oh boy. 4 1/4? No, 4 1/2. Okay. So let's measure this at 4 1/2. And 4 1/2. All right, now I'm going to get out the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine that I had mentioned earlier. If you're brand new to stamping, Or maybe you're not so new to paper crafting, but you've been holding off on getting one of these machines. This might be the perfect opportunity to get one at a substantial discount. So you can find all that information on my website at Dandelion Cottage Design, and just look under the joining special to find out about your discount. Now I'm going to take this is the gold shimmer vellum, and I'm just going to place that in the folder like so. So I've got the label side up. So when you see the label on the folder facing up, you know that that's the top. And then what I need to do is I need to adjust the plates on my machine. There are two different kinds of embossing folders. There are the standard kind of embossing folders, and then there's something called a 3D embossing folder, which is an extra deep embossing folder. So this one is a 3D. So you can see you can see on the, get this where you can see it. There. You can see on the plate here all the instructions for the various tools that you'll be using. So whether you're using a standard embossing folder, a 3D, or if you're using with the dies, it'll tell you exactly how to create these sandwiches using all of these pieces that come with the machine when you get it. So you don't, when you get the machine, you have everything you need to begin right away. So I'm just going to pass this through, and I'll show you what that looks like. So there it is, and you can see that this looks identical to honeycomb. In fact, I think, hold on a second. We have some bees here at Dandelion Cottage, and I happen to have some honeycomb from the hive, so I can show you just how similar this looks. So this is an actual piece of honeycomb from my hive, from the bees, and here is the gold shimmer vellum imitating that honeycomb. So how cool is that? Right? I think that's so awesome. All right. Next, since I have this out, I'm going to go ahead and put my other paper here. I want to have lots of this ready to go when it comes time to decorate the portfolio. So I'm just going to take a minute to pass these through. And I'll take this little scrap and put that through as well. Get that in there straighter. There are loads, dozens and dozens of other textures and images of embossing folders that are available, and the addition of texture to your project adds so much. I can't even tell you how fun it is to play with all these things. So when you go online to look at the different embossing folders that are available, just remember that you can select any of those in your starter kit, and this one is free as a SALE-a-bration add-on. All right, I'm going to put this down for a minute, get that out of the way. Here's my little panel for the front of that inner pocket. And I want a torn edge. I want this to look kind of natural. So I'm just going to kind of randomly remove some of these straight edges and let this be a kind of a shape. There we go. So there's my background. With a little bit of texture. I'm going to go ahead and glue that down. Now another thing that you can do is I like to assemble all of my decorative panels before I glue the project together, because then if I decide that I want to add a little bit of machine stitching around the edges, I can do that as well, and I may do that today. So there we go. There's my honeycomb. Now, one of these larger panels is going to be for the front of my portfolio. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to tear around the edges, give them a kind of a random natural look. And by the way, if you cannot get the shimmery gold vellum, just go ahead and substitute the regular vellum, and when you layer that up over a gold or a yellow tone background, you will have a very similar effect. But I know a lot of the people out there who watch have been collecting a lot of this stuff, and I'll bet that you have some of this gold shimmer vellum in your stash. Okay, and just one more edge. Now, because I want the cover to be particularly decorated, I want to add a little bit of sparkle behind here. So for that, I'm going to get out my distressed gold paper, see how that looks. And I do like that. So I'm going to cut that down. So this is 5.5. I'm going to bring that down to, I think, 5 by 7.25. Let's see what that looks like. When you cut with the trimmer, you never have to worry about not getting a true 45-degree corner, because it's always going to come out perfect. As long as you have that paper seated up against that stop nicely, you won't have to worry about that. Okay, so that's what my cover is going to look like, something like that. I'm going to take off these corners. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this one down. I like to use the multi-purpose liquid glue. It's kind of a PVA glue. It is a archival glue. It's non-yellowing. It will not become brittle. And you can get it in these little bottles, which are perfect for keeping on your desk while you're working. And also the bottles have two different application nozzles, I guess you'd call them. So this one has a very fine pointy one, and then on the other end you have this big fatty. Okay, I don't use that so often, but if you were to squeeze out, this bottle, okay, there's a little bit of glue in there, so you can see I can squeeze out a little bit of that glue, and I can use that flat end for smoothing down any lumps or bumps that I may have on my paper. So sometimes when the paper is not thick enough that the glue won't show through, that can be a good tip to help get you a nice smooth surface application. So now what I want to do is I just want to pull this into place, get that on there straight. It looks pretty good. Pull this way a little tiny bit. There we go. All right, now taking my bone folder, I'm going to give that a really good burnish. Beverly says maybe we could use a blending brush on plain vellum to give a subtle yellow tone, then emboss it, because I may not have the specialty vellum. Yeah, well, that'll work, Beverly. I love sponging. And if you're going to be adding color, I would suggest adding a couple of different colors, because the natural honeycomb isn't just one color. You know, depending on how the light hits it, you may want to add a little bit of, say, maybe the So Saffron. Well, the So Saffron might be too light, but the Daffodil Delight and what do we have here? Oh, I'm looking at an old ink pad that is no longer available. This color, Delightful Dijon, one of my all-time favorite colors. If you're a veteran stamper and you have Delightful Dijon, this is a great color. Unfortunately, we don't have that one. That's okay. We can make our own. So if you were to mix, say, a little bit of crumb cake with the Daffodil Delight, I think that would work really well. Okay, so there is that, and look how beautiful. You can see why that paper keeps going out of inventory. I'm going to layer up with my honeycomb, and this glue is going to dry clear, and because of the texture of the vellum, you're not going to notice any of the glue marks that are on there. And then what I want to do is I just want to kind of put this a little bit skewed. Give that a little bit of a rub. I'm not rubbing so hard to press down on my beautiful embossed design, but just enough to get the glue into all of those nooks and crannies. So there we go. I love that. So let's grab our folder, take a peek, see how that's looking. So there's my inner pocket here. Okay. And then cover is going to be something like this. And then on the back, have the back cover. And I'll decide if I'm going to add a little bit of gold to the back cover. I don't know. I may do something else. Maybe a little gold heat embossing. What I'm thinking is I want the back to be kind of smooth. I don't want to have a lot of texture on it. I want it to be able to lay flat and not get caught up on stuff. The front or the top is fine because that's where our beautiful decorations are going to be, but I want to keep the back kind of simple. All right, let's continue. Now, we want to get our beautiful queen bee on here. After all, she's the center of attention. So let's do a little bit of stamping. I'm going to tuck all these things away for the minute. And I've got a scrap here. Let's get her out. This will be my first time using the queen bee, so I'm excited about that. Get her mounted up. Is that big enough? Let's see. Just makes it. Okay, so that is the D block. She just makes it on the top of the D block, and I'm going to use some soft suede. And there she is. Beautiful. Now, we have options, okay? So here in the die set, you can see that not only do we have a thinlet, or a framelit, I should say, that's going to cut her out, but we also have a die that's going to cut out some wings, and for that I want to use the vellum. So let's see if I can find a little scrap of vellum. This isn't exactly a scrap, but let's see. Let me check my folder. I do. Okay, so here, this is a scrap. There we go. This is the plain vellum, and this time I'm going to use my Stampin' Cut and emboss machine, but I'm going to use the regular plates. Now you can see that these plates are very well used, and there are replacement plates available, but for this project, it really doesn't matter. I can get good use out of these older plates. They'll work just fine. And I think I'm going to run this through a couple of times. So I'm going to go back out again, and I'm going to go ahead and get my beautiful wings out of the way. So they look like that. Gorgeous. And I'm going to run this through a second time. Okay. I keep my waste paper basket just under my desk. I'm always afraid. I have a fear of losing a die. And so I keep my waste paper basket tucked under the desk so I don't accidentally drop a die into my into the garbage. All right, so I'm going to use my piercing tool to just poke that wing out. So there we go. And now, next thing is we've got to release our queen bee. Now already I can tell that this video is getting crazy long, so I think what I'm going to do, so that I don't put you all to sleep, is I'm going to go ahead and just do this one embellishment, and then off camera I'm going to go ahead and add a few other odds and ends, and I'm also going to stitch around the edges of some of these pieces, and then I'll show you the finished project in the thumbnails. Now, if you look closely, you'll see that I didn't do the greatest die cutting job here. It's a little bit off center, no problem. What I like to do is to just grab a sponge. I like to do this even if I'm accurate. I just think that the additional sponging adds so much to the die cuts. Oops, sorry if I bumped the camera. So I'm just going to take my ink and I'm just going to gently sponge around all the edges, and I think this just makes all the difference in the finished look of the piece. And the other thing it does is that because the ink has a little bit of moisture in it, it sort of softens the card and makes it a little easier to bend into shape. And I want my queen bee to have a little bit of a dimension about her. All right, there she is. Get those little legs. Get in there. All right, I'm happy with that. And this is the soft suede again on the So Saffron. Okay, put my die away before something happens. You know, we do have this eensy binksy, look at the size of this die. It'll fit on the tip of my pinky. It's that tiny. Now do you see why I'm afraid of losing these things? That's why I store my dies on these magnet sheets so I don't lose them. But you could use that tiny little heart to punch out a gold heart and put it on there. And I may decide to do that later, but to save time, I'm just going to move ahead here. So I want my vellum wings to be attached, and for this I'm going to use a glue dot. And I'm just going to kind of fold that in half. Get that centered on there. And then later I can put that little gold heart right over the top of that. So there's my beautiful queen bee. And you can see that she's already curling just a little bit, even without any extra help, because of the moisture from the ink. Now, if you'd like to add some metallic ink, you could do that. I'm not going to show you the metallic ink because I've been notified by Stampin' Up! That I shouldn't show you the metallic ink. that is not a Stampin' Up! Product, and which reminds me, actually, for those of you who have been following along with this portfolio, the garden portfolio, I'll be finishing this on my YouTube channel at Dandelion Cottage Design, and also my Facebook channel is called Dandelion Cottage Design, as is my Instagram. So in all those places you can find me. But I'm going to be finishing this book off camera, and those of you who are interested in seeing how it comes together, or in getting the instructions and the PDF, please go to my website at dandelioncottagedesign.com, and I will be sending out an email with more information about this project. So do that as soon as you can, because that email is going to be going out pretty soon. I'm really excited about this project, but because I used a oversized paper to get this size of a journal, I had to use some paper and ink that was not Stampin' Up!, and therefore I'm not going to be sharing that on the in the demonstrators Facebook page. But if you'd like to see how it comes out, just get on my mailing list, and I will send you an email from notes from Dandelion Cottage, and it'll have all the information with measurements, how to get the measurements, how to get the materials list, and how to finish up the project. Okay, so let's start assembling this. I'm going to go just short of assembling everything, because I do want to stitch. So, but there are a couple of things that I can show you before then. So let's get our gorgeous fine art ribbon, and you can see how exquisite that looks on this crumb cake cardstock, one of my all-time favorite combinations. So I want to make sure I've got plenty of tails here to be able to tie a bow easily with. I'm going to get out my tear and tape, and I just want to see where these things fall. That looks pretty good. All right, so I'm going to go ahead take a strip of tape, add that to my folder, give that a little rub. Release the backing. Find my middle. Oops. There it is. I've got my middle, and just place that right on top. That's going to hold that in place beautifully. Flip it over, do the same thing on the back. I like my ribbons attached so that they don't get lost. There we go. And then this mat is going to go over the ribbon like so, and the front will go over this way, okay, and my queen bee is going to be added on there. Now if we go back to Julia's card, we can see that she's added all of these additional die cuts with the flowers and the foliage, and I want to do the same thing. And for that, I'm going to be using my Petal Park, and I'm going to be embossing these flowers with gold embossing powder, the way I showed you in a previous video, which I will post below, and then punch them out with my punch, and I'll put the flowers around. And then I also have in my queen bee dies, I have this gorgeous leafy kind of a swag that I want to add on there as well, and I'm not sure yet. I may decide to use that in the distressed gold. All right, so the cover will look something like this. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to stitch around all of the edges, and then let's get this out of the way. And then in the back, or I mean on the inside, now, oh, I see another message from Beverly. She says she has 2 baskets in her craft room. Oops. Oh dear. Oh yeah, she's talking about the chance of accidentally losing a die. So we want to be careful about that. Okay, so here we go. So here is my inner pocket. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to glue this down. Mount that on the front of my pocket like so. Get that even on all 4 sides. That looks good. Give that a burnish. Sorry, I'm off camera. Oops, got a little bit of glue there. Okay, give that a good burnish. And then I can come back with my punch. This is a retired punch. This is a 1-inch circle punch. I have all of the retired circle punches, and they're wonderful, and they range from like I don't know, about 1/2 inch all the way up to 2 or 3 inches. But if you don't have the punches, never fear, there are some beautiful circle shapes that you can use in the dies that will do the job. Another tip is you can take a punch that's not a circle punch, and you can use, for instance, I'm not going to do it on this one, but you could just put that in a little ways, you see, and you can just get a shape. Actually, maybe I will do it. I think there's enough room that I can get away with it, so I'm just going to go ahead. So for those of you who don't have the circle punches and you want to make a thumb notch, just do something like that, and now you have a really cool shape. Okay, and again, this is the essential tag punch that I just used to do that, and this is one of the free items that has recently been added to the SALE-a-bration list. Okay, now this I'm going to glue onto my pocket like so. However, I'm going to hold off on doing that because, again, I want to zigzag machine stitch around the edges. So I think I'm gonna end the video here because it's getting so long. I mean, we're well over an hour, and I know that you've got things to do. I will be back, however, and show you the finished folio on Monday, and I will also be posting the image on the thumbnail as well. So if we just tie this, we pretend that this is all together. Just put a little bow on here. And I think you can see the potential for all of these wonderful designs using the Queen Bee bundle. All right, so thank you so much for watching and joining me here today on this wintry Saturday afternoon. I hope that gave you some ideas. I know you all have loads of goodies in your stashes, and I can't wait to see what you do with this idea. Please post them in the Dandelions Paper Pals group. If you're not a member, just say hi below, make a comment so I see your name, and I'll be able to recognize you and get you into the group. And just search for that on Facebook, the Dandelion Paper Pal group. And oh, and also the Something New, Something Old group. So if you are somebody who likes to combine retired product with new product, that's the place for you. So it's Something Old, Something New, gives you the opportunity to show all your wonderful old stamps and beloved papers in a up-to-date format. Last but not least, don't forget there's only 3 more days till the end of Celebration and this amazing joining special. I would love so much to have you join me and the Dandelion Cottage design team. We have creative challenges, there are free classes, you get the watercolor card club every month for free. There's all sorts of goodies. There is a monthly Zoom where we share what we've been making. It's an awesome, creative, and supportive group, and we would love to have you join us. If you have any questions about that, just contact me and I will explain it all to you. This is really too good of a time not to join, even if you decide to just try it out for a month or two, because the savings are incredible. I'll see you again on Monday for Marvelous Monday right here at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, and I'll be back again on Wednesday at 12 noon for Watercolor Wednesday, and every Saturday at 12 noon for Paper Crafting Saturday. Stay well, stay happy, stay creative, and I will see you next time.